to say? What's your?
Yeah, well, the, the Monday afternoon was supposed to be the official announcement
Right.
for the project. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a leak down south. But anyway, Monday's the ceremony. They're going to have a lot of the local leadership there, county leadership, Governor of South Carolina Nikki Haley, and Congressman Tom Rice, who represents the district, as well as the development people. And we'll be there to cut the ribbon on the new facility, and I'll be making a statement about the scope of the project, why we're moving, and why we chose the location, and sort of describing our plans, our timeline, and what we're going to be doing down there.
Be here.
Well, we'll be here in some way, shape, or form at an absolute minimum through the end of the year, and probably, honestly, a little bit longer than that. The facility that we're moving into right now is just a spec building, so it's more or less a sandbox with walls. So there's a lot of construction work that needs to be done before we can really do anything down there.
Right.
I think it'll be a minimum of 90 days before we can transition, anything at all. And beyond that, we're going to be trying to be very careful about strategizing the move so as not to lose production in the process.
Right.
So we'll be sending our assembly operations down first, as well as warehousing operations. Not only are those the easiest to move, but they're also the most problematic legally from a local perspective.
Right.
So those will be going first, and those will probably go in the fall, ideally October. And then from there, we'll be moving the manufacturing piece, the machining piece, piecemeal as new equipment becomes delivered, and as we can work with our vendors to fill in spots where we're going to have downtime.
Right.
And that'll probably be a piecemeal process over the course of November, December, January. Well, our employees had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, there are a whole slew of factors that come into the decision, obviously, but when it really came down to it, we had a few sort of primary criteria. The big one was a friendly local political environment. We didn't want to be, we had interest from Massachusetts, for example, but we don't want to be back in this position a year from now, or even 10 years from now. So we wanted to move to a state that we perceived as, friendly to the industry.
Right.
And beyond that, we were also looking at all sorts of the normal things that businesses look at, like, a trained workforce, availability of a workforce,
Right.
Proximity to transportation, supporting industrial infrastructure in terms of vendors, and then also cost of doing business. The tax environment, cost of living, local cost of electricity, gas, inputs, and all those things. And what we find, we were fairly quickly able to narrow it down to 6 or 8 states that fit that bill. And from there, we sort of focused our attention on those states. And at that point, it became really a question of deciding between various incentive packages that were offered by the locations, and then a very, very big factor, what really ended up being the deciding factor, the tipping point anyway, was where our employees wanted to go. And that's, we've been getting a lot of questions, well, why not Texas, right? Texas was all over the news, and Brendan Perry was here Monday, and we took a hard look at Texas, and Texas has a lot to offer. When it came down to it, though, our particular type of rifle is really fundamentally different in terms of the operating system than any other kind of rifle that's made in the country or on the continent. As a result, our employees are uniquely qualified to do that, and the learning curve is a little bit higher than it would be if we were making AR-15s or something that was more common. So retaining our as many of our employees as we can was really crucial to us being able to make the transition. And so, you know, so we took a vote.
That's great. I heard you took a vote.
And South Carolina, you know, it really, particularly the Myrtle Beach
Was it a
area.
close vote?
No. No. I mean, you know, we had a lot of people who were going to be flexible. You know, we'll go wherever.
Right.
But you know, then there was another contingent where, you know, they really wanted to be close, as close to home as we realistically could. And I think we struck a good balance with that. You know, in the sense that you know, the area that we're going to be in, South Carolina, you can drive back here in 12, 13 hours, and
Right.
and you can catch a flight from Charlotte that's 2 or less.
Right.
You know, to Bradley, and so, you know, people like that idea of you know, of being within striking distance of
Right.
everybody they're leaving behind, and it also fit the bill from all the other perspectives. It's a difficult decision, but from a logic standpoint, when you really start comparing statistics, there's not much to be upset about. You know?
Right. Right.
We really have in my opinion, that keeps companies here
Yeah.
is a psychological barrier, and it's a big psychological barrier, which is this is what we know, you know, and this is where my dad had his business, or this is, you know, this is where I was born, and I always wanted to own a business in my hometown, or you know, or whatever that may be. You know, the thought of picking up and moving across country doesn't occur to you on a daily basis.
Right.
You know, in our case, the thought process was forced on us. You know, and then we had to start looking at it. But yeah, you know, there's you know, one of the things I think is, especially in the manufacturing industry, whether you're making guns or aerospace parts or surgical parts or automotive, that's something in Connecticut especially, but certainly in the Northeast, that's always been here. You know, it's been here since the United States has been here. You know, and I think it's kind of like an old girlfriend. You know, I mean, you know, everybody kind of takes it for granted in the political. I don't mean everybody, but many people kind of take it for granted. And down south and out west, they don't take it for granted because they recognize it as a weakness of theirs. And you know, and they want to do everything they can to build that industry because, you know, there are so many. When you really look at the sort of like an economic pyramid, you know, I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there and there's a lot of services out there, but when you trace it back to the root of it, well, what supports all of that? And it really comes down, in my opinion, to 3 things. You know, you got agriculture, you've got mining, you've got manufacturing. Right? You have to produce a product for somebody to sell it. That guy can sell it and earn a margin, and then he can buy a house, which anyway pays a realtor and a lawyer and buys a newspaper, and you know, and so on and so forth. But you have to have products to drive the thing, and I think that's something that the rest of the country over the last 50 years has realized that they want, and that's something that around here people have always had. You know, so they don't think about it as much. Was the patch bill extends the assault weapons ban now to .22 caliber firearms, which was arguably in response to Stagg's announcement that they were going to come out with a .22 caliber Connecticut compliant firearm. You know, I cannot confirm that, but I cannot think of any other reason anyone would have thought of it. You know, so it was a little bit of a you know, pat on the back and punch in the face.
Yeah. That may weigh into their considerations.
Right. We don't make 22s here, so it didn't really bother me much.
Right.